Good evening, students. Our today's topic is identification and formulation of a research problem. How to identify and then how to formulate a research problem. So, this is our topic for today's session. Formulating a problem is the first step in the research process, or we can say in any research process this is the basic or this is the first step. So in many ways research starts with the problem that one is facing or that is being faced. So this problem needs to be understood and needs to be identified. The cause, diagnose and solutions developed. So most of the problems are not always easy to research because of any factor. It may be because of any factor. So a problem must first be translated into a research problem. Anything that can be researched. So once we approach the problem from a research angle, we can find a solution. So, first of all, a problem must first be translated into a research problem. First of all, it must be translated into a research problem. Once we approach the problem from a research angle, we can find a solution as well. For example, students are not doing well or they are not able to do well in mathematics, in science, their score is not good. So this is a kind of problem. Their behavior is a kind of problem. We can study that. We can work on that. Why it is happening in our class? Why I am facing such and such problem in my classroom? So there are so many things if we look around. So first of all, it needs to be translated into a research problem. Then we may examine the expectations and experience of people or our sample. Then we will work on it. So we will determine problem, we will translate into research problem, and then we'll start our work. Once we have identified a research problem, we will develop a research question. So a research question gives us or gives a researcher a clear direction. So from the research question, a hypothesis or hypothesis can be formulated to guide the research work, to guide the researcher, to keep him or her on the right track, in the right direction. So a hypothesis should include a statement about the relationship between two or more variables and carry clear implications for testing the started relationship. How to formulate the research problem? Problem formulation is simplified once we define the components of the research problem. So let's start. First of all, specify the research objective. First step is to specify the research objectives. What does it mean? A clear statement of objectives will help us develop effective research. Clear statement of objectives will help us develop effective research. or will help us plan effective research work. So it will help the decision makers evaluate our project. So it is critical that we have manageable objectives. So clear goals will help a researcher to keep research project focused and relevant. So clear goals will help a researcher to keep research project focused and relevant. Review the context of the problem. Review the environment or context of the problem. Review is important. This will help a researcher. This helps a researcher to determine whether the findings of his or her work will produce enough information to be worth for future work. So, in order to know the clear position, what was done, what needs to be done, or what needs to be explored, so it is important to review the context of the problem or related literature available in your area. Explore the nature of the problem. Explore the nature of the problem. Research problems range from simple to complex. Research problems range from simple to complex, depending on the number of variables. Range from simple to complex depending on the number of variables and the nature of their relationship. So, if one understands the nature of the problem as a researcher, they will be able to better develop a solution for the problem. To help a researcher understand all dimensions, one might want to consider focus group. Of students or people who are going to be involved in the research work, so that insight needed, a type of insight which is needed for a researcher is developed from the point of view of research. Define the variable relationships. Next is to define the variable relationships. Determining which variable affects the solution of the problem. The degree to which each variable can be controlled. First of all, determining which variable affects the solution of the problem. Determining the degree to which each variable can be controlled, and the functional relationship between the variables and which variables are critical to the solution of the problem. During the problem formulation stage, we will want to generate and consider as many courses of action and variable relationship as much as possible. So during this stage, One wants to generate and consider as many as course of actions and variable relationships as possible. Basic research issues. All basic research issues all studies must address the basic issues such as ask the right questions. This is the essence of any work and the heart of proper planning for any researcher. So, every work is unique in a certain way, and as much as that it should be must be tailored to the user's need. Ask the right people. The goal of sample design should be that only those people who are of interest to the researcher are contacted, and that those contacted are representative of the group interest. Ask questions the right way. Ask questions the right way. It is not enough to be able to ask the right questions. They must be asked the right way. Exactly, it happens. It is not important to ask the right questions. They should be asked the right way as well. So it is important to ask right questions in the right way. So this is the essence of questionnaire design. If the wording of the questions is not clear to the respondents, or questions are not clear, words are not clear, language is not clear, the result will be useless. It will be of no use. So pre-testing the questionnaire is crucial for ensuring the responses are the ones that are needed for a researcher. So the wording of the questions wording of the question should be clear to the respondents, language should be clear, and they should know what is being asked and what is expected. So pre-testing of the questionnaire is crucial for ensuring that responses are the ones which are exactly needed by the researcher. Obtain answers to the questions. Data collection is central to all research. The techniques used should minimize on response while maximizing response. Sources for the problem identification. So let's discuss sources for the problem identification. Research reports already published may be referred to define a specific problem. Research reports, which are already published, may be referred to define a specific problem or assistance of any research uh, supervisor, expert, or any person who is clear about work, or one who is expert in the field. So you can ask such people who have experience in that area, or expert people who can guide you, or your even your supervisor, like professors working in academic institutions can act as guide in problem identification. They can guide you whether this project is feasible or not, whether this is practical, whether it can be carried out easily, and what problems, yeah, a researcher can face in future. So they will guide you in the right direction so that it remains focused and problem which is researchable. Even cultural and technological changes can act as a source for research problem identification. Seminars, symposiums, focus group can act as a useful source. You must have that kind of attitude where you can identify, where you can, it can strike you. You will see so many things around, but it should strike you as a researcher. You should have alert mind for that, so that something strikes you. And at the same time, it is important to self question. Self questioning is important by the researcher while identifying, while defining the problem. Self questioning, like, is is the research problem correctly defined? So a researcher can ask, so to himself or herself, is the research problem correctly defined? Is the research problem solvable? Am I on the right track? Can relevant data be gathered through the process of research? Is the research problem significant? Can the research problem be conducted within the available resources? Is the time given to complete the project sufficient? What exactly will be the difficulties in conducting the study and hurdles to be overcome? Am I competent to carry, and most important, which is the most important part, am I competent enough to carry the study out? So if you are working on a project, you should know clearly that I would be completing this work within 6 months, or within any given time, any given duration to you, like within a year, or within 8 months, within 6 months. So you should be knowing that a researcher should be clear about these things, whether my problem is clearly defined, or it needs some modification, correction, or the problem I'm looking for, or the problem that I am working on, is it solvable? Can relevant data be gathered through the process of research? Is my research problem significant? Can the research be conducted within the available resources? Is the time given to complete the project sufficient? And what exactly will be the difficulties in conducting the studies and hurdles to be overcome? So a researcher should give careful thoughts so should give careful thought to these type of questions while identifying and formulating a research problem. Basic characteristics of a good research problem. For any research problem to be effective, one needs to make sure that it has some basic characteristics like reflecting on important issues or needs, that it reflects on important issues and needs. Basic, basing on factual evidence, so it is which is non hypothetical. Being manageable and relevant, it should be manageable and relevant like we were just discussed. Suggesting a testable and meaningful hypothesis, avoiding useless answers. And clarity. The problem should be clearly and precisely stated, avoiding any vague or ambiguous language, which is vague and which is ambiguous. So, this kind of language should be avoided. It should only outline exactly what a researcher wants to investigate or what a researcher intends to investigate. So, and relevance. The problem should address an issue that is significant and impactful. Relevance. The problem should address an issue that is significant and impactful. Problem should address such an issue which is significant and impactful within the field of study. It should contribute to advancing knowledge or solving real world problems. Researchability. The problem should be feasible to study given the available resources, time, and methodological constraints. It should be possible to gather and analyze it effectively. Novelty. Ideally, the problem should be original or explore a new angle on existing research. It should fill a gap in the current literature or offer some new insights. Specificity. A good research problem should be specific enough to be manageable and should clearly define the scope of research. It should not be broad so that it becomes unmanageable, unwieldy. Theoretical framework. It should be grounded in existing theory or literature available, demonstrating an understanding of the context and background of the issue. This helps in building on previous research and justifying your work. Objective. The problem should be formulated in a way that allows for objective investigation and analysis. It should avoid leading or biased questions that could skew your results. The problem should be formulated in a way that allows for objective investigation and analysis. It should avoid leading or biased questions that could skew results. Potential for contribution. Potential for contribution. The problem should have the potential to make a meaningful contribution to the field. Definitely, other, it should have the potential to make some contribution to the field, related field in which it is being conducted. So it should have that potential. It should help in some way or the other, whether by filling a knowledge gap, offering a special practical solution, or challenging existing theories. Ethical considerations. It should be framed in a way that considers ethical implications, ensuring that the research can be conducted responsibly and respectfully. The problem next is feasibility. The problem should be manageable in terms of scope and complexity, considering the researcher's skills, expertise, and available resources. So, basic characteristics of a good research problem are clarity, relevance, researchability, novelty, specificity, theoretical framework, objectivity or objective, potential for contribution, ethical considerations, and feasibility. Like problem should be manageable in terms of scope and complexity, considering the researcher's skills, expertise, and available resources. in the next session, we'll discuss criteria for selecting research problem.